especially thanks to my very close friend Hari for inviting me here. I'm going to talk on different approaches, but my own concentration is going to be anterior and Harding and posterior approach. I'm not going to other approaches. My experience, I have gone through a Smith Peterson. I've seen my boss operating from the Smith Peterson, very early days. Then we went to a transtrochanteric approach. Charlie, we described, we did almost more than 500 cases. Then we went from 1981, we went to posterior approach. And today I do Harding approach quite a lot for all my primaries. For revision, I do my posterior and sometimes trochanteric osteotomy. Surgeons should be flexible and hip surgeons should know all these approaches. That's my message. What should be the ideal approach? I think it should be a wide exposure. Today, what you have seen Vijay doing it should be useful for varieties of deformities, efficient and bloodless surgery, early post-op recovery, and minimal complication. That should be your aim as my aim. If you look at this approaches, the anterior approach is always between the rectus and the sartorius in the front and gluteus medius is behind. And the Harding approach, we split the abductor and various ways of quantification that I'll show you. And posterior approach, as we know, southern approach, we just split the gluteus maximus and keep the abductor intact. This figure will give a better idea how we approach the hip. The Harding approach, a lot of modification took place. And the most important is the posterior tendon should be left intact of the hip gluteus medius. That is the most important most important step of this operation. How much you take anterior, how much, 1/3 or half, it all depends. A lot of modification took place. And if you can see in this figure, I think posterior only tendon is kept, but I try to go a little in the front, keep more than half of the posterior tendon intact, which gives a little better, and do not extend the incision too long. These are some of the pictures from our own, this one. This is the only way I take a normal, actually, straight suture initially. This is the only part of the gluteus medius is reflected with the capsule, and we suture it back. You can do all measurement, vertical offset, horizontal offset, and various things which can do it with this approach. The problem is with this approach is loss of fixation for abductor. Can't do a resistive exercise for at least for 6 weeks for these patients, and you need to use a crutch till they have a mild limp. And most important is if you go 5 centimeter above the tip of the trochanter, the chance of superior gluteal nerve damage is much more. And there has been report that a little bit of heterotopic ossification is slightly more compared to posterior approach. It's a good exposure. Posterior soft tissue is kept preserved, and there are no precautions. The same day or next day morning, they can start sitting, they can do most of the activity. There are no precautions to be left as what we do it for posterior approach. It's a good approach for alcoholic, neuromuscular patients, elderly, severe FFD of the knee and hip. I think this is a very good approach because you're releasing anteriorly everything. And secondly, for the knee, if the knee keeps in flexion, the chance of dislocation are very high, and that's why this is a good approach. Bilateral simultaneous you can do, obese patient. And trauma, it is a very good approach. Because of the virgin capsule, the rate of dislocation is slightly higher on the posterior approach. So this is a very good approach for a trauma patients. But this cannot be used for when you want to do any posterior reconstruction. And there's extension where when you want to do some extension like a transtrochanteric or few things, you can't do it. And for high DDH, this is not recommended approach. Posterior approach has been very common. The various names are there. Gibson, Moose, and all varieties of names. So it's very commonly used, very high rate of success, easy dissection, relative traumatic, a wide exposure is possible, and ability to reconstruct posteriorly with this approach is there. As you know, extensile approach can be done with this approach. Today we are just talking, Vijay was very skeptical about this position. I take it as this is surgeon's responsibility. You can't rely on somebody. Even if there is a good team working more than 10 years, yes, okay. But it's a surgeon's responsibility to do the position because pelvis is a mobile target, especially with this approach. There are varieties of incision described, but I think we are making a shorter and shorter incision and we're not doing that original what incision was described. This is another, today again Vijay showed is very important. This is some cadaveric dissection we did in past. The what retractor, this is the neurovascular structure is here. This left hip, your retractor should be here in this area. This is the thickest portion of the part of the pelvis and you will not get a fracture. If you try to put this retractor here, chance of neurovascular injuries are extremely high. So try and put, this is one important message for all of you. Just put that retractor there in front there. Ability to accept the exact position of the pelvis, mal-established component limitations are there. There is a chance of sciatic injury with this posterior approach and increased incidence of posterior dislocation, but which has been reduced because of the enhanced posterior capsule repair. Now we have got 36 heads. We have dual mobility in hand. So rate of dislocation has gone down. Don't go for historical data. There is sometimes chance of medial circumflex artery. Exposure to anterior column is not possible with this approach. And there is a poor exposure for internal canal distally, but not proximally. A lot of confusing literature regarding the posterior approach, and these are all historical data because everything was put into a single bag, and I think it should not be taken. But today, there is no doubt that this rate of the posterior dislocation has reduced to less than 0.8 by various papers because of the improved and enhanced posterior capsular, and we have better understanding of the implant now. This is very important. That's controversial according to the literature. The quality of orthopedic literature recording is very limited, and there is no prospective studies of sufficient power to actually recommend. So the anterior approach is now today, a lot of surgeons are interested, and that must and younger surgeons should be able to do anterior approach in this country because of for a straightforward primary. It started with Smith Peterson, and I think these are the two people who have revived this anterior approach very well. Thanks to Joel Mata. And this approach has incision, interval, and capsular incision that we have to keep in mind. And what we need to go is the front, sartorius and rectus is in the front, and gluteus medius goes behind, and you right in the anterior area. So it is a internervous intramuscular plane, so the chances of damage of the is much more less. And these are some couple of only thing is you can't dislocate, and you measure quite a bit of few things you can't measure. You have to do the neck osteotomy and take it with corkscrew, the corkscrew. You can't dislocate the hip with this approach. The great advantage of this approach is getting the image inside, that is and supine and limb length and other things you can very well do it. So one very, very important, so that what is exactly the image is. So you may not need a special instrument. Today people are doing with usual instruments, but if you have, that's a great thing. This is only one important thing for the anterior approach. The chance of fracture are extremely high. For femur is the greatest problem. Acetabulum is no. So how do you do this release? First release is a superior capsule, followed by release of the medial femoral neck. Then put your retractor there and lift it up. And if still not, then do a vertical ephisiotomy. Lastly, you get a piriformis. Don't touch the obturator externus, which is a dynamic stabilizer. This is one important message. And I told you, you can assess intraoperative. You can see the stability because you're in supine position, and limb length assessment is very, very critical. So this is a great advantage of this approach. So the advantage are no muscle disturbances, rapid recovery. You can straight day problem. The US surgeons are most of the time as they discharge on the same day for this patient. Decreased rate of dislocation, no question about it. No hip precaution at all. Image intensifier, I told you just now, limb accuracy can be measured. So disadvantage is a steep learning curve, high rate of intraoperative complication. Mainly femoral fracture has been reported from almost up to 5.3%. I think it's getting reduced because our surgeons are getting better. Early revisions has been documented, and limited, if you have any complication, the extension of the incision is going to be very tough. And posterior deficiency cannot be addressed with this approach. So what is my message to you? Use approach which has been given a consistent result. This is my boss told Dr. Dholakia before he died. Surgeons should be flexible to change. Direct lateral approach for primary high-risk patient is excellent approach. Posterior approach for a complex revision and using 32-36 articulation and closure, posterior door closure is meticulous is very, very important. Entry approach with precaution, proper training, institutional practice and high learning curve. Thank you for the attention.